What's going on, squad, and welcome to another Icon live stream. Today we're gonna break down proper form for lunges. So this specific exercise, I find that a lot of people think that there's kind of like, between the two different types of form that we go over, they think that one's right, one's wrong. But both happen to be right, okay? So in today's live stream, I'm gonna break down proper lunge form, first and foremost, but secondly, how to either shift the focus to your quads or shift the focus to your glutes and your hamstrings, okay? Now, basic setup, when you're going into a lunge, first thing I want you to think about is not being on a tightrope, but being on a train track, okay? Meaning your feet should be spread at about hip width apart or just outside hip width apart, whichever allows you to be more stable and not kind of feel like you're topsy-turvy. Secondly, when you actually go into the lunge, as you're dropping down, you want to think of keeping your knee behind your lead toe, okay? Because too often what I'll see is when people lunge, they'll allow the knee to pass the toe. And what that does is that actually puts a lot of strain on the knee joint, okay? And takes away the emphasis from either the quad or the glute and the hamstring. Now, if you're brand new to lunges and you have a hard time with lunges, I always suggest starting with a reverse lunge versus a forward lunge. Reason being, the knee passing the toe. It's easier to keep the knee behind the toe when you're stepping backwards versus stepping forwards, okay? Now, here's how you differentiate form to either target your quads or your glutes. Now, traditional lunge, you will see people are typically more or less upright with their torso. They come straight down, okay? Now, when you're doing this form of lunge, it tends to be more quad dominant. You're gonna be using a lot more quads, although you are activating the glute of the supporting leg, not the lead leg, right? But now, if you want to actually target your glute and your hamstring more, sorry, I should probably have the lead leg facing this way. If you want to target the glute and the hamstring more, I want you to actually think of your deadlift. So you're actually going to think of hinging forward from the hips just a little bit, okay? Now, I'm going to do a reverse lunge because it's a little bit easier to kind of see and actually talk and demonstrate at the same time. So I'm going to think of hinging from the hips slightly, not like full deadlift, you don't want to be fully bent over, but slightly hinging. So just poking the butt out, okay? And then when you step back, you want to maintain that hinge. Of course, you don't want to slouch and allow your back to kind of go into flexion, but you do want to maintain the hinge in the hip, okay? And when you do that, you are going to notice that you're getting a little bit more glute engagement. Excuse me. Now, if you're going to load these lunges, okay, regardless if you're trying to target the quad or the glute, a nice rule of thumb for me is I try to keep the dumbbells in line with my heels, okay? So when I'm actually lunging, I'm trying to keep the dumbbells in line with my heels. And the reason I do that is because the dumbbells, the weight is actually falling below my center of gravity, okay? Whether I'm hinging forward to try and target the glute, or I'm staying upright to try and target the quad, I'm trying to keep those dumbbells in line with my heel. Because now, the weight, again, I'm not thinking about trying to hold this weight up. It's just dead weight, keeping my shoulder blades retracted, and I'm thinking of my hands being hooks, okay? So the weight, just a quick note, if you are loading them with dumbbells, try and keep the weight kind of above the heel, okay? But now again, if you want to target the glute, you're going to hinge slightly, maintain a neutral spine. You don't want your back going out of alignment, but slight hinge when you're going into the lunge, keeping the knee behind the toe, and you will notice you get more glute engagement, okay? And then again, if you want to target more quad, you're just going to stay more upright in the lunge, okay? And this is technically a split squat, but even if I'm coming forward, for instance, if I'm doing a walking lunge, slight hinge, come down, maintaining that slight hinge, and I'm actually not thinking of pushing off my heel. So that is a cue I don't I rarely use when it comes to any sort of leg exercises. I try to use or put all of the emphasis on the outer midfoot. So I'm trying to have an outer midfoot strike as I'm pushing up. What that's going to do is going to allow you to keep all three balls of your feet planted on the ground. Because if you try to put the emphasis on your heel, what tends to happen is the two balls of the feet, the front balls of the feet, come off of the ground. And that's really going to mess with your stability and probably hurt your knees. Okay? Now the last thing I will go over is breathing. Typically, a walking lunge, I will hold my breath for sometimes like 2 full steps. So as an example, I'll take my breath at the top, lunge, and I'll exhale on the second lunge. That's just my personal preference. But if I'm sedentary and I'm just kind of doing like sedentary lunges, whether it's forward or back, I'll take a breath in between each. And what I want you to think of doing is as you're pushing up, okay, as you're exerting the force, you want to be exhaling. And when you're at the top of the actual movement, that's when you're inhaling. So in motion, imagine I have dumbbells, take my breath, stepping back. Okay, and then from the front perspective, you notice my feet, again, are not on a tightrope. They're on a train track. I'm taking my breath at the top. Okay? That is how to do a proper lunge. Okay? For those of you that tune in live, God bless you. I hope you got some value out of this live stream. I will be posting the replay into the chat shortly, as soon as YouTube uploads it. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. I'm going to go have some dinner because I have another meeting in like 10 minutes. Peace, love, all the proteins. May the gains be with you.